Good morning, everybody. Boop. There it goes. How are you doing? Welcome to Thursday. We got an exciting day because the doctor's in the house. He just saw him pop into the back studio thing here. So the doctor's in the house. This is exciting because we want to talk about the men's health. This is why we call this one medical attention, because they need some medical attention. And as we're going to get into this story, one of them really, really needs some medical attention. The second one really needs it. And then even the third needs it. There's various levels of ailments and how they're dealing with it. But so we have the doctor in the house. He's going to be paying very close attention to the first half of the show. He's going to be taking notes. He's going to be watching. He's going to be doing that kind of thing. And then he's going to be giving us his assessment and advice and recommendations for the second half. So this is wonderful. We're going to be able to get some information to the men from a doctor. And also help us understand maybe what's going on. Are we really worried about something that's not a big deal? Are we not worrying about something that is a big deal? These are the kind of things that we might be able to find out here today. He's not here to actually prescribe anything because they took away his license for telling the truth. But he's still one of the smartest men I know. I spent a good 2 hours with him on Tuesday for my afternoon show. So if you haven't met Dr. Shoemaker before, I would highly, highly recommend watching that episode. It's not on YouTube, because we purposely didn't put it on YouTube because there's a vaccine. That's all we spoke about was the truths of the vaccine. But you can certainly find it on Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, and Getter, and a couple other places. You won't find this particular episode on YouTube, so you're not watching from YouTube. They suspended me incorrectly. There's something going on there. YouTube's looking into it now. They'll probably reverse it because they've hit me for a video that they hit me on before, but approved. So some reason, I don't know if the science changed in 3 weeks. YouTube are you retroactively stopping conversations now? In either case, hopefully we'll be back on YouTube. If not, that's all right. We'll roll the punches and continue with Rumble. And we also have another guest here today, Melissa Baddy. You're gonna help me get that name right. If you're new to the show, that's the charm. I can't pronounce names very well, but I still try, because we wanted to get those conversations out. And we also have Nikki Tom join us again. And she is Tony's really good friend, and she's collected a lot of the medical information, and she's one of the ones who's been pushing to make sure that they get medical attention. So we're going to have an excellent episode. No Donald Best today. He's going to sleep in. He's going to get himself all rested for tomorrow. This guy's been a trooper. He's out there doing podcasts like crazy. So thank you very much, Donald, if you're watching the rerun. We really appreciate it. We'll see you tomorrow. And do tune in tomorrow, because we have Danny Bulford coming in. So we're going to have friends and family for the first hour as usual, but we're going to extend the show tomorrow 1 extra hour because Danny had the time available and was really only available that day. So he'll be here for an hour talking about the RCMP operations, police, because he's a former RCMP officer. So we're going to hear from him because he actually reached out because he said he has some questions about some of the things that they were doing, and that might help him enlighten himself about what was going on there as well. So it's going to be a very interesting episode. So make sure you tune in tomorrow. Tonight, we're going to have Greg Hill. He's from Freedom to Fly. He's a pilot. They used to fly for one of the major Canadian airlines. And he's going to talk to us about the struggles that he had being a pilot in this whole mandate thing. And he's also going to tell us about his program that he's fighting for us. He's got Freedom to Fly. So this is an organization where he's fighting for our rights to make sure that we have the freedom to fly. And then tomorrow, we're going to have Chris Barber. So Chris Barber will be on at 4 o'clock Mountain Time, 6 Eastern. And with Chris here, we'll be talking about how the mandates affected the supply industry, the logistics industry, the trucking industry. We know how they responded. We're well aware of how Chris Barber and team responded, but I'm going to talk to him a little bit more about why, what got everybody upset, how it affected the industry, and how it still affects the industry. And that will conclude our mandate on the industry week, where we were talking to people all about the mandates on their industry. We had legal on Monday, we had Dr. Shoemaker medical on Tuesday, we got pilots today, and we got the trucking industry tomorrow. So I hope you'll enjoy all that. Now, without further ado, because we don't have an unlimited time with the doctor, I'm going to go ahead and bring in Granny. Good morning, Granny.
Good morning.
Oh, I love that your audio, like 3 days in a row, is perfect.
Well, I'm leaving today again, so let's see what it does tomorrow.
Oh my, but you're going to have the same headset, same...
Yep.
Okay. So far, so good. So I'm looking forward to that. Welcome back, Nikki.
Morning.
Did I catch you looking down, taking notes, looking at what you're doing there? Sure did. Yeah, she's getting all ready for the show because she knows people watch this show now, right? You got a nice comment from somebody who said, "Hey, we drink coffee to the show." So want to say hi to them because they're probably watching right now.
Good morning.
You know, say, who's the coffee people? Do you know them?
What's
You were,
that?
you were
Yes.
telling me.
Good morning to the Tiresome Coffee guys.
There we go. We can get that out to them. Yeah, right on, gentlemen. And let me have a cup with you here. Cheers. Thank you for getting up early to watch the show. Hello, Melissa Badine?
Badine, you're good. Thank you.
Badine. Is it French?
Kind of. So my husband's indigenous, and when the settlers came, they renamed his family so that it means French horn, but theoretically don't know the actual origin of his real name, but that's what the family was told it was. So
Badine.
That's what we go by. Yeah.
Got it. Thank you so much. And thank you for joining us today. And I'm going to add the doctor to the string because I believe he might be listening. And then he's going to be giving his opinion and assessments in the last half hour. This is how he wanted to work. He wanted to hear everything. He's taking notes, and then he's going to come onto the show and let us know what he thinks. So what we're going to do, Nikki and Melissa and Granny, is we're going to do our best to spend the next 30 minutes or so getting that information to the doctor so he has what he needs. And what he's looking for is to just hear what's going on to the best you can. I believe Nikki...
I'll just jump in so you know for sure I'm here. I am listening, and I am behind the curtain, as they say, and will enjoy listening to you, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, doctor. I appreciate that very much. Thank you. So he's in the house. All right. So we'll start with Granny, and we'll work our way to Nikki, and then we'll go down to Melissa as we're talking about the men. I know Nikki's got a lot of the notes, so we'll spend a lot of time with her. But we'll start with Granny and say good morning, and let's go ahead and start talking about the men and their health.
Yeah, well, good morning, everyone. Yes, the health issues that have been going on for the past, 536 days now? I kind of lose track. Yeah, and there's been issues right from the beginning. Chris Carbert started with an abscessed tooth, got infected. It was a real hard go for him. And he said the hardest part of the remand is Alberta Health Services. So something is lacking there. I don't know if there's lack of accountability. I don't know, but we need to get to the bottom of that. And then Tony's issue, as Nikki will talk about. Tony and I have something very similar. We both have struggles with gluten. I can relate with what he speaks of. I thought I was going to die 7 years ago, and I'm not even slightly joking about that. So I do worry about him because I know what he's going through. The gut health will eventually start impacting on your mental health. And so I do worry about him a lot because I know this is huge. And Chris ended up getting an injection he would have never agreed to. He thought it was his normal medication for his knees. It did not have the gel in it. It's a lubricant of some form or something to go with the cortisone. So he got a partial shot. And that's, yeah, so that's a whole other story. Plus it took him 1.5 years to get his glasses. So he was kind of blind as he muddled through. And now Jerry's got knee issues and eye issues, and this is all inside a remand where Alberta Health Services is not cooperating. So now we'll go to Nikki because she's been the behind the scenes lady with everything.
Yeah, and I'll add one thing because Chris told me about that shot for his knees. Not only was it the wrong one, it caused his feet to swell. So something that was in there caused some sort of swelling in his feet, and he mentioned that as well. Nikki?
Well, I'm finding out how broken our system really is when you start trying to contact people and people keep passing the buck and not wanting to take responsibility for anything. I first started out contacting the remand centers, the Department of Health, to be told that I don't have consent to talk on Tony's behalf. I did talk to Tony, and Tony was in the process of getting a consent form filled out so I could speak on his behalf. I then had phoned back to the remand center and said, I am going to get consent. And they had told me, well, it doesn't matter if you have consent. It's going to be a tough time verifying who you are. And I said, well, that's not hard. I'll drive and I will find you. Mm-hmm. And so then I really couldn't get anywhere with the remand center. So I figured I looked up and I called AHS Patient Relations because they have a complaint line. And I spoke with Nick, and at first I don't know if Nick actually really took me serious of how serious the situation was. So after 2 phone calls, I got him to set up a file number for me, which Tony's file number is 138185. And then I thought, well, you know what, I'm not really getting much there either. So I decided, I pulled the prisoners, Alberta prisoners' rights and challenges in Alberta. It kind of gives you the step-by-step process of what a person should take. So then I had phoned the Alberta Human Rights Commission and spoke with them and got told that they have a narrow scope of operations and they do not deal with standard of care. I then called the Alberta Ombudsman, was told basically that I could actually maybe talk to a lawyer, have a 30-minute free consultation, but they couldn't help me here. And this is all in the prisoners' rights challenges and opportunities. So basically, if anybody were to try and use that, you would get stonewalled with all that. Then I left messages with Regan Myers, an AHS manager, and Danielle Miller, a deputy director of operations. And I don't believe that the secretary probably passed the message through to them either. Then I was at my wits' end. I thought, you know what, I'm just going to phone Danielle Smith's office because I can't get anywhere with anybody. And I mean, this is serious. And so I phoned Danielle Smith's office, and Johnny, her receptionist or secretary or whoever he is, answered the phone. And I will show you, I had a 10-minute conversation because I'm all about proof. I don't know if you can see.
We believe you.
Anyways.
Your credentials are good.
So anyways, I had told him about Tony's health condition, Tony not getting probiotic, that he had a probiotic through the Medicine Hat remand facility. And then when he got transferred to Calgary or to Lethbridge, it was denied. It was denied by the facility and by AHS. That come right from Tony. And he actually had a guard witness that it had been denied. And I was telling Johnny at Danielle Smith's office about the rotten food that had been served to the men, that this was absolutely disgusting. And Johnny had then called me I was unbelievable, uncredible, and unreliable, that AHS is very reputable and this would never happen. And I don't know where you're getting your information from, but you sound so uncredible. And I said to him, well, I have proof of what is going on here. We've been kind of involved since day one. And I told him about Tony's condition. And he said, well, I basically can't help you. I said, well, can you give me the number to the Minister of Justice or the Minister of Health? And he says, no, I won't even give you that because they'll just send you back to the remand centers. And I said, well, I can't get anywhere with remand centers. And he says, well, I can't help you because you were uncredible, unreliable. And then
give me his number.
No,
just send it to me later today. Give me his number for later today.
Gotcha. And then I had my husband's aunt phone Monday. I had phoned Friday, and she had phoned the following Monday. And Johnny had said to her also, I don't know where you people are getting these stories from. I've had many calls with the same story, and I don't know where you guys are starting this conspiracy.
Well, the story is from the victim, the actual person who's hurt. So the source is very traceable here. Yeah.
So I was actually very troubled that this actually come from the Premier's office, that basically getting stonewalled at that point. I have since then reached out to our local MLA, the MP, John Barlow. I've sent an email to Nathan Newdorf, and I have sent an email to Larry Brock. Today I will send out more emails and go from there. But I've spent
can you give me a copy of that email? There's somebody in the UCP I know personally directly. I would like to get this to him. I think we were trying there, Granny, but we need to get this to our friend in the UCP directly. So give me a copy of the emails you're passing out, please.
Sure. And, I found it really hard because, these men have at least somebody to help speak for them. If somebody had nobody to speak for them, you're screwed.
Right. But I'm just going to ask you, we'll take care of the procedure and stuff like that. We're here for the medical. So the doctor, he's taking notes about the ailment. So if we can maybe get into more about the ailments.
So Tony has small SIBO, small intestine bacterial overgrowth. And so he has complaints, medical complaints, exhausted, he's on a gluten-free diet.
He's lost a lot of weight.
Yep. Diarrhea, constipation. I mean, these are symptoms probably of everybody who suffers from this.
Now, he has received it at least once since in the 536 days. He's gotten the probiotics at least once.
Yeah,
has he got it twice or 3 times, or?
He was offered the prescription in Medicine Hat, and when he was transferred, then it was no longer valid, even though the prescription was valid till the middle of August. And then when he got back to Medicine Hat, they didn't. The prescription was not valid. They said they didn't know how he even got it, that it was unformulated, whatever that means, and would not give it to him. And they said they didn't care.
Yeah, we knew that. They don't care. Granny, how many times has he had the probiotics? I know he has at least once.
Well, I think he had some one time, and they were just like chalk. The nutritional value to them were garbage. Then the second ones were somewhat better. But I know one time him and I were talking, and I said to him, I said, can you get access to hot water? And he said, yes, I can get hot water. I said, start drinking salt water. Just try and flush your system out with something. That's when I found out you have to buy salt. It's not easy to get access to salt in the remand. And then one day and I'm not saying anybody do this. I'm just saying what Tony has done because he's desperate. He actually put probably 1 or 2 tablespoons of table salt in a hot water, and he drank it. But it did help him go to the bathroom. So that's kind of been his quick fix and Tony said we can share this. We're not talking out of school, but when you don't go to the bathroom for 10 days, there's a lot of things going on inside the body. You know, he's being poisoned from the inside because that has to come out, and it's not coming out. And like I said, it's going to start affecting him mentally, which is not good physically and mentally. So that's kind of his story right now. And then Jerry's got an eye ulcer. I think he's had eye ulcers in the past. He's dealing with that. And he was told if these eye ulcers keep happening, he could go blind. So that's not to be taken lightly. And then again, like we go down to Chris. Oh, and plus Jerry's got those lumps on his back, but it sounds
I was going to say,
yeah, it does sound like he got some attention yesterday or 2 days ago. That somebody's actually starting to look at Jerry's issues and taking them a little more seriously. Again, the trust is gone. One day does not make this credible. So, and then Chris, like I said, he's a big man. And his knees were injured in a car accident from work. And he had medication, and I'm not sure what his treatment was. Do you know, Jason? I think it was edibles and something else with his knees. I'm not sure if it was always shots. I think the
cortisone.
Shots,
I want to say cortisone shots.
But I think the shots were only because that's all he could get in the jail.
I'm not sure. I know outside he was getting like a supplement, something else.
And it helped his knees. He didn't have to take shots. I think the only reason he's taking shots is because he's in the remand. So
yeah, and I think that's his only option. I know they gave him, I think, once right, and then after that wrong, and it actually hurt his feet.
So when you're inside and you're dealing with all these issues, and Melissa can speak to this a little bit better, how important it is to go outside for your medical, physical, mental health. And they're in a concrete jungle. They do not get outside. So these men are not just suffering physically, they're suffering mentally because they're not getting outside. And
that actually affects physical, the Grandma. So you need your vitamin D, you need some fresh air, you need to get out, move yourself.
That's kind of Melissa's world a little bit more. She deals with people that way.
So Melissa, let's go ahead and talk about the importance of being able to get out of the cell and get outside that they don't have, so the doctor can understand the conditions they're in. And by the way, there's some solitary confinement here, Dr. Shoemaker.
Thanks for having me. My biggest thing is I try and look at everything on a mind, body, soul level. So everything intersects with the other. And so it's all one of those aspects where if you're not getting fresh air, if you're not getting natural, you know, vitamin D, or just even the opportunity to breathe fresh air, not feel confined and everything, it will affect one or the other. And so there's different studies, and like, I'm an advocate of being a forever student, so I always love looking and learning into more. But when you look at things like Joe Dispenza and stuff, like you were the placebo, if you were stuck in a constant confinement of like cement, it's not a full grounder. Like, it's not going to keep you on an energetic plane where you're going to feel the benefits of relaxation. Your anxiety will spike. There's many other things which can ultimately create a multitude of different symptoms. Now, I am somebody who believes barefoot walking in natural grass and different things like that is one of the most amazing things to just kind of help curb that. But if these guys haven't seen natural grass or trees or anything like that, to just get that fresh air and that natural grounding opportunity, then they are going to ultimately have a variety of different repercussions. I'm also a hippie, so like I brought some examples of different things that they wouldn't have access to. So for example, some of the joint pain and different things, there's things like castor oil with even cayenne pepper, and then making poultices and tinctures, to even having like dandelion salves and stuff like that. But even looking up SIBO, because I wasn't fully familiar with it, I wanted to kind of just see what the recommendation is, and just, we know that they would not have access to this. But in the natural realm of everything, even the salt that you were talking about, Margaret, like it's one of those things where I've gone down like the naturopath route too. The table salt has so many different dyes to it. Some people are even testing it for radiation. Like, it's not healthy. We get Celtic salt. So like, for example, if my clients are dehydrated, we take a pinch of Celtic salt and then we drink our water and our body absorbs it better. It's something that we weren't properly taught. I know, like, there's so many things that we didn't learn on the food ladder. So even understanding that instead of the inversion of how many grains and stuff we should have, we should really put that table upside down and see what these guys are even ingesting. But when we look at some of the recommendations for SIBO, it says oil of oregano to help kill the microbiomes in the intestines and different things. I don't see them getting that. Then it's looking at like herb recommendations. Cinnamon, thyme, pomegranate works really well for the candida and bacteria in the small intestine. Again, these are just some of the things that I don't see them getting access to. So it's just having alternatives that I find would be amazing. And I know, and by the way, I do believe in doctors. It's not that I'm just rubbing on essential oils if I have a broken bone, but it's an opportunity to look at what is something that we can take in preventative action that can thus create some kind of, I guess, misalignment on the body-mind-soul connection. So whether it starts the gut health that then affects the mental health that creates physical ailments. If you read like Louise Hay and Wayne Dyer and you go down those routes, it just continues. So I just would love to support in any way that I can. I'm grateful to be here and for all the work that you guys are doing, and for everybody watching. If you guys can just continue to help support these men, that's amazing.
Thank you very much for that.
I would like to say is that Tony worked hard to get his health back. He was sick in 2015, 2016, to the point he thought he was actually going to die. He was that ill. He worked hard with good food, good water, good supplements. He took really good care of himself. Like he would not eat outside of that because he knew how sick he could get. The very first day he was incarcerated into the Coaldale police station, he couldn't eat the food. He wouldn't eat the food because he knew how sick he would get. And he did ask. This is how serious he takes it. So we're blessed that he got a gluten-free diet eventually. And there's been times where they do not, especially when he goes to court, they give him plain sandwiches. That bread is poison to him. And so like we have to remember, he tried hard and he worked hard to get good health. And now his health is going into the toilet and he has nobody to speak up for him. One other thing about Jerry and Chris, they're fighting varicose veins also right now. So,
and that's from being on the concrete, not getting out, not stretching. And you guys heard Melissa and I think even Nikki say they can't get. So the problem is AHS is not allowing anything that they haven't approved through. So that includes supplements and neuropath options. And also, Melissa, some doctors actually know how to treat people, and that includes with supplements and neuropath options. Some doctors are not so much that way, but some are decent that way. Nikki, you want to add any more to this before the doctor jumps on?
I actually was in contact with Tony's naturopath, so she actually is very kind, going to write a letter so I can submit it to the MLA, so it can go right to the health minister, showing that he has had this condition for a while. So the health minister is I did get confirmation yesterday that it did get sent to my emails got sent to the health minister.
And when he receives his treatment, I guess before he's in this, does he rebound well? Does he do well? Does he actually do very good when he gets some of this treatment?
Oh, he says he feel, you know, I mean, obviously it takes a few days to get his gut health back in order, but he said it's night and day. He said, I actually feel like well, he says he can eat because he can't eat anything that they're serving him. So he says he's picking apart his food. So he said, at least when he gets his probiotic, he has some good gut health that he can actually digest the crap food they're giving him.
Okay. So for a quick little rundown, we have Chris Carbert, who seems to be doing fine. We didn't have any issues with him. Right? Okay. And then Chris Lysick, we've got knees. And he's got his contacts now after a year and a half, but main issues with his knees, his feet, and his varicose veins. Granny? Okay. And then Tony, actually, we'll go to Jerry next because Tony is the major issue. Jerry had some lumps on his back that a surgeon is now taking a look at. I believe that's what's happening recently. And his eyes. So his eyes, he has the issues with his eyes.
Yeah, and
are there any other issues?
An old knee issue that he was needing a brace, and the brace finally appeared yesterday or something. So,
all right. So Jerry's main issue is the eyes. He's got
that's the main
ulcers.
issue. Yeah.
Okay. And then Tony, the main issue is his gut health, his weight loss, and then his inability to get good food in there. And then all the men have the no vitamin D, the no outside, no fresh air. And to anybody watching thinking that when they transport them, they get fresh air, right? No, actually the vehicles go inside the building, inside of a garage, they close the door, put the men in and drive out. So no, they don't even get to walk to a vehicle outside. Anything else that maybe we should let the doctor know there, Nikki or Granny? Just
mainly the weight loss for all of them is an issue. Like the food is not good quality food. You know, it's the system they're caught up in. And each one of them has a different quality of food, like each remand. You know, Medicine Hat has the better food, Lethbridge, medium food, and Calgary the portions are small, and the men are hungry. They're going to bed hungry. So their bodies are always in that hunger mode, and they've lost a lot of weight, all of them.
Okay, and to kind of be complete about their treatment, they have not been in fights, they're not being attacked, so there's no like physical stuff happening to them. This is all internal through their diet and stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of mental stress from watching others be beat up. Like that's trauma. And if I was seeing that, my body would be like this all the time. Like, so I can only imagine what their bodies are going through.
Okay, and then
Tony did say to me the other day when he was transferred back to Medicine Hat, this was another mental issue with him. He had just been transferred back, and three of the inmates that have become his friends in there, when he got back, they were black and blue beaten. And one of the inmates was coming off his medication and went off the charts and beat up three men, then hospitalized them. And Tony come back to see these three men with bruised faces and limping around because they'd been beaten.
Okay. And then Granny, solitary confinement for two of the men?
Yeah, like, okay, all the men get locked down if there's a fight in their area, their wing, their ward, whatever you call it. They all get locked down right now. All of them get punished. And then Tony and Jerry, because when they go to Lethbridge for court, they get segregated. And like Jerry just got off of 22 hours a day in his cell. And then he gets out into a little hallway. And then if he does get outside, it's in this little concrete square that he has to look up to see the sky. So that's
right. No direct sunlight at all. And then Tony, he has some solitary as well. Tony
had it when he was in Lethbridge. Yes. Now that he's back in Medicine Hat, conditions in Medicine Hat are somewhat better. But again, the remand's a remand. It's not a place to sit in. So their mental health and their physical health takes a real beating because there's nothing to do. Like they're locked inside. Tony now has a pen and his Bible. That's it in Medicine Hat. Okay. So mentally, day in, day, and then we're talking about dead time torture, and that's a real thing. You know, when you don't see a way out of this, you're mentally being tortured every minute of every 24-hour day, and that's a real thing. That has to have an impact on your physical health. It can't not. So.
Right. and they have the lights on. It's hard to sleep. And then John was asking this question: do they have access to mental health counseling at all, via online as well?
No.
So, John, they have no access to online, just so you know. They have an iPad with mainstream media. That's it. And then Karen by the Rodu says, do they get any time to exercise?
There is a weight room in Lethbridge. I know Jerry, being in Calgary, has more access to the physical out, like to do stuff. I think Jerry can actually once in a while play basketball somewhere. I don't know how he gets it or how he gets into that spot. But he can actually exercise because he's got room to in Calgary. So for Jerry, Calgary may be the gang unit, but it gives him more freedom to actually do his burpees and all his exercising. And he wears his anxiety out, like he exercises it away. So that's good. Like that part is good.
Okay, but that's where he likes to be because that's the max, and that's where he knows everybody, and he didn't get that treatment in Lethbridge.
No.
All right. Let's bring the doctor up. So I hope you took some notes there, doctor. And yeah, here you go.
Yeah, well, very good. I have been listening to everybody. Not that I can jump in with an immediate answer, but hello, everyone. I'm
Hello,
here in
doctor.
Ontario. I'm a medical doctor still, but I do not have a license to practice in Ontario. So any advice I give will just be that of a naturopathic type health advisor. That's physically who I am right now, functioning in the world. So just want to say that off the top. If anyone has a direct question or that you'd like to ask me first, why don't you guys go ahead? I think that's better to go in that direction.
Okay. So, Nikki, do you have a question directly for the doctor?
Not at the moment.
That's okay. That's okay. We're all just wandering around this from different perspectives. I literally have just learned about the opportunity to do this in the last 24 hours. I certainly know nothing about the man's physical condition or state other than what I've just listened to right now.
I have a question.
Yes.
So intermittent fasting, can that help Tony in any way? Like he's got access to hot water. Like we got to kind of work with what Tony has. Obviously, we need to get him medication. My daughter thought she heard about, and not that I'm a big fan of antibiotics, but they have their place. Would antibiotics help him with the intestinal bacteria overgrowth? And intermittent fasting and hot water, like how can we help him and help him get going to the bathroom?
The antibiotics, the most wonderful thing that could happen for Tony would be if a real legitimate doctor would come, see him, look at his file, understand his weight loss that's occurred, know his condition, and fine, prescribe antibiotics if they want to, prescribe other things if they want to. But a physical human being, by rights, he has a right to be seen by a health professional. Why cannot not happen? That is the first step.
So, Nikki or Granny, you want to talk about that? Why is he not getting access to a doctor?
So he did confirm with me last night that he is on the list to see the doctor, hopefully Thursday. And he said if he cannot get help from the doctor, he is to phone AHS back immediately, this Nick, and will file a formal complaint and go from there.
This is terribly, terribly, terribly important. I couldn't help him properly without seeing him. I wouldn't try to help him remotely, even with certain informations. No doctor really should in this degree of trouble with his chronic bowel condition and the like. When you say Thursday, is that Thursday a week from right now today? Or is that today?
He was hoping maybe today, but he said usually the doctors don't come in until Monday. So he said if there probably wasn't enough inmates to have care, he might not get to see a doctor. So he actually wasn't sure when he would see a doctor.
Well, it's some kind of promise that it's going to either be this Thursday or this coming Monday. Someone's made a promise through one of the lettered agencies there. Could you give me that lettered agency again that has made this promise?
AHS.
AHS.
Alberta Health Services.
So the component of Alberta Health Service that has a responsibility for incarcerated individuals, and there has to be a component within AHS that has that responsibility. I assume that's the component that the staff have to reach out to, or Tony through the staff have to reach out to, or you on behalf of Tony have to reach out to. You're having to reach out to this element within AHS. Is that correct?
Yes, and he said yesterday when he actually finally got a hold of Nick at AHS, Nick had said he had actually never come across an inmate actually asking for a probiotic before, and he couldn't understand why this was an issue.
Who is this person?
He is the complaints line for Southern Alberta. He would deal with the Lethbridge Medicine Hat remand centers.
With apologies, did I hear you say the name Nick as if you had a name of a person?
Yeah, yeah.
So this man, his name is Nick. You've talked to him, I'm assuming, or you wouldn't use his name.
You betcha, yeah.
So this man whose name is Nick and who works for Alberta Health Services, does he have any kind of medical training at all to be functioning in that role, or?
He has not told me. He has just identified himself as Nick, and he is kind of the middleman, is what he's told me.
Okay. Will you have relatively some ease in calling back and forth and politely interacting with Nick as you see it?
You bet. I've phoned him probably maybe 10, 12 times already.
Okay. Well, that's a good thing right there. I mean, you've really got to maintain that relationship in as best a way as you can, right? And I'm sure you will do that, right? In talking to Nick, you can certainly, I mean, don't quote me by name, but you can certainly say that I certainly understand from talking to medical professionals that probiotics are terribly important for people on gluten health issues in their bowel. And yes, we're not in any way inappropriate to be asking about it. And that's why we're so happy that you're going to get a physician to see him in the next 72 hours and confirm it. And can you confirm, Nick, now that he will see this physician between now and Monday? Like just stay on the positive of that you're convinced of its appropriateness, that his past medical history makes it very clear that it's important. And the only thing that needs to unblock it is that a neutral, a medically trained person, hopefully a physician, but even a very, very senior nurse practitioner, could also function to legitimately prescribe that these come to him. I'm just amazed that basically normal medical treatments, and these are entirely normal medical treatments, aren't available to a person with this known intestinal condition.
Yeah, you want to talk about that, Granny, the trouble of having AHS accept what we're trying to do, and then how they got moved around, and then even the remand centers wouldn't accept what was being brought to them?
Well, and Nikki and myself and Tony's mother had a conversation over the phone. I'm not sure who we spoke to at that time. It was Alberta Health Services, I'm pretty sure at that time. And we talked about, I know they wouldn't tell us, well, we can't talk about Tony being there. We cannot confirm he's there. I said, okay, hypothetically, you have somebody in a remand center that has probiotics. And why can they not go from one remand to the next? They should have been in the vehicle with him. It was his medication. Whether they call it medication or not, it was Tony's medication. It just went missing. Nobody even knows where it is. So I said to him, I said, okay, hypothetically, you've got a diabetic. Does his medication have to be reapproved at every facility? And he goes, yes, you can't take the medication. I'm going, right. You're going to let a diabetic just hit the floor. Not a chance. So they're saying what what they want us to hear to justify them taking his probiotics away. And again, Nikki, we don't even know where those probiotics are now. They don't follow the man in the vehicle. Everything disappears. Everything, and I mean everything in their cell disappears for a couple weeks. We don't know where it goes. So his probiotics, nobody knows. So the system and the people, for some reason, have this mental attitude that they are accused and they do not deserve any kind of comfortable atmosphere, that they are meant to be uncomfortable, as one man said to Chris Lysick. You're not meant to be comfortable. And I guess that goes with their health too, because all of them have been punished with their health. No knee braces, no glasses, no contacts, no injections because it's a fight to get that. Everything is a no. So now you're accused, innocent until proven guilty, and you're being punished through your health, weight loss. It's the whole thing needs a light shone on it. And these are 4 men we're talking about. That whole system, I can only imagine how many men and women are suffering in a remand center. I can't even imagine.
Do remand centers kind of get away with it a little bit compared to a real prison? If the person's already in real prison, they've already seen the judge, they've got their sentence, they're somewhere that's not called a remand center, they're in the system and they're effectively in a prison or jail. Would they, in a prison or jail, in that circumstance, have a more of an advocate or an adjudicator within the prison system to which they could appeal, and to which and even a health service within the prison that has to function with within the letter of the law to provide people with proper medical care? Can you just contrast remand centers from real prisons and jails to me?
Great observation, doctor. And you're absolutely right. Yes, the remand center has less services because it's not meant to be a permanent thing. So that means you don't have a steady doctor, you don't have a steady gym, you don't have a steady anything. And you're right. When you actually get to prison, or if they go to prison, or anybody in prison, they have direct services, including that. So they wouldn't be moving around like they're doing now. So one guy is getting some services in Medicine Hat, and then when he goes down for court in Lethbridge, it's all cut off. Nothing follows him. His medication's not there. And that's kind of part of the problem as well, as they're being moved around from different places. So you've highlighted something there, doctor. That's fabulous. Yes, in the prison, they would have more services. Granny,
Chris Lysick was telling me that people in the remand center that have been incarcerated in a jail, they actually have, they can have a rice cooker. They can have all kinds of different items, like, so they can eat better. So they probably do get better treatment through a doctor.
And going outside as well is something that happens in a prison.
And again, this is more of a legal question, but a medical question. You would like to think that if a person is in a remand and not in a prison or jail yet, you would think that after, 70 days or something like that, the person's lawyer could demand that they be placed in a prison-based setting because anything past 70 days is illogical and inappropriate to be called remand, and the person should no longer be in a remand setting. They could almost demand to be upgraded to jail or prison because to not do so could impact severely on the health of the person. Can anyone speak to that?
Yeah, actually, I'll speak to that one. So we are talking to policymakers in UCP, and there's definitely going to be some changes, and that would be one of them. Too long in remand center is a human disaster. It's torture. And keep in mind, doctor, these are pre-conviction. So the people in remand center are innocent or guilty. We don't know yet. At least in prison, you've been convicted, so we know where you stand. And we also believe, doctor, I know it may not be a medical thing, but we do believe these men are innocent. So they are innocent men who are going through this, and they're kind of confused how the system is just ignoring them and not even treating them. Again, because in their heart, they're innocent. So I think that also adds to the mental anguish. And I think maybe Melissa can mention a little bit on how that would affect somebody's health.
For sure, it's going to affect all of their mental anguish. I applaud, you guys have got to keep moving through Premier Smith's offices and other settings to somehow get this corrected. But my goodness, it's just so tragic to hear the whole story. And, they're in a place that is worse than prison and absent of any legitimate and safe and timely medical care. That certainly sounds to be the case for sure. I'll speak to a moment for the gentleman, I believe it is, just a second, get the right name here, Tony, and he's the one needing the probiotics and the like. Yeah, that you just start with unsweetened Greek yogurt. The person should have unsweetened Greek yogurt and some appropriate nutraceuticals mixed in with that, along with the oil oregano, which would be totally appropriate. These are the things that would make him better in about 3 days if it gets started on it. It's absolutely bizarre that it's not being allowed.
Yeah, that's the idea that we're looking for here from you, doctor, things like that. So if we can try and get that Greek yogurt and other things, that might be another option for us. Neuropath options are difficult to get through HS because they're not approved, but maybe possibly some diet options. Now, Granny, you did bring probiotics, or someone brought probiotics to Lethbridge. They just wouldn't give it to him, would they?
No, we asked about it going to him.
Okay.
Yeah, and
but he had some that was in medicine hat that didn't come. Something like
just
that.
didn't follow him. We don't know where they are, but we, like I said, it's like a dog chasing its tail. We get told by the nurse tells Tony, you just need to have somebody bring it to the remand, and again, it's just words, and then the remand can maybe submit it, but it's like the nurse says the remand has to do it. The remand says no, Alberta Health Services. They just keep passing the buck. But in the meantime, Tony is suffering in real time and everybody's passing the buck. So we need to get attention. And that was the reason for the call to action, because we don't know how else to get help. Nobody wants to help us.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Nikki, you want to kind of touch on, I just want to touch on your frustration so far, because you've spoken to so many people, including this Nick guy. You've been told that you're part of conspiracy theory, even though a whole bunch of people are reaching out. And now we just heard the doctor say how important it is to take care of that gut health. Do you think this is going to help? And do you want to give a call to action to people to do some more?
I do think we need to reach out to the Minister of Health, the Minister of Justice, Danielle Smith's office, AHS. Danielle Smith's office had told me he couldn't believe this because AHS is very reputable. So let's show how AHS is reputable and help these men. You should not be denied your basic right to health. And when I contacted Danielle Smith's office, and that was my concern, I said, I'm not asking you to get involved in the case. I'm asking, we have some major health issues with these men, and they need help now. They are sick. And it didn't seem to faze anybody. And even talking to AHS, and well, I had to beg him to get a file number going. And then if Tony was transferred, when he was transferred to Calgary, I got a file number going for him. When he went to Calgary, he couldn't deal with him in Calgary, so I'd have to deal with somebody else, and he would get a different file number. They just try and stonewall you every which way. And I said, I'm just trying to get the man a probiotic.
Mm-hmm.
We're fighting for ourselves.
Nikki, who's just speaking right now, if you were to bring, a standard nutraceutical probiotic, it's over the counter, it's not a prescription, it would be in a bottle, it would be labeled, it wouldn't be an illicit drug, it would just be what it is, the kind of thing that any of us could go to a store and get. If you were to bring it physically there to them, and he, the client, gave himself permission to take it, are you saying they wouldn't allow him to sprinkle it on his Cheerios?
Nope.
Or not his Cheerios, because he's gluten. He had to be gluten-free. But anyway, would they allow him to sprinkle it on his vegetable dishes?
They said anything that he would receive has to be prescribed by the doctor. That nothing could be
and
brought
through
in.
Would you be allowed to, let's say you just had a dietary assist for someone and you wanted to bring raspberries and let them have raspberries every day with their meal. Would they let the person take those raspberries, which are not medicines, which are just foods from the outside? Would they let a person, if a person came every day and brought a little bit of fresh fruit to a person, would they let the person eat that?
They
Absolutely not.
Anything in.
What's the rationale for not allowing that? Oh, just that he's behind bars and the families can't interact and nobody can bring food but our food. Is that their answer?
Yeah.
Dr. Shoemaker, there's a wife.
So basically they're allowed to starve them, give them crap food, and deny them to see a physician who could actually prescribe a medication. They're doing those three things together. Starvation.
You're a smart man. That's correct.
And the like. Man.
That is correct. And when we ring the bell, they're telling us we're conspiracy theorists and go away. That's 100% happening here.
I had a nurse with Tony. I finally got through to a lady by the name of Linda. And Linda made things happen fast, but she's a little standoffish now. But Tony said the nurse was furious at me, furious for me getting involved. And she wanted me fired. And I thought, okay, like I've always said, I don't know what she was going to fire me from, but she was mad. And Tony looked at her and said, listen, I am innocent until proven guilty, and I deserve health care.
In fact, Granny, guilty or not, you deserve health care.
Tony, you do. Sorry for the interruption. He does deserve health care.
Yes.
He's not getting it.
No, he's definitely not.
One question I just kind of have, in kind of looking at like the stomach gut health and everything like that, there's some talk, and like I just wanted to pick Shoemaker's brain on this as like an option of what they might have available. But what about like apple cider vinegar to even lemon water, like warm lemon water to just up the pH in the stomach?
So I did talk to Tony, and they said that he can go to the canteen list. If he needs anything extra, go to the canteen list. And he said on the canteen list, there is nothing healthy, nothing for a gluten-free diet, and nothing to help him with his health condition.
Okay, there's a lot of problems here.
Wow, that's just amazing. Just amazing. I mean, if hot water with lemon or without lemon, or with salt or without salt, I mean, can he request hot water with lemon? Why not?
We'll get him to ask. We'll get him to ask about lemon. Like that's our first option. We'll ask with what we can find. You know, maybe he can get lemon, even lemon juice. Like, it's worth a try.
Okay, so let me take just a moment now. I'm going to, just for the moment, assume I only had 4 or 5 minutes to specifically advise what Tony should ask for when he does see this doctor person in the next 84 hours. Could someone write this down with a pen and paper where you are, please?
Yes, it's happening.
Okay. I would like Tony to be allowed to be given on a regular basis Greek yogurt, unsweetened. Greek quality type yogurt, unsweetened. That would be the first thing. The second thing would be I would like him to be able to receive simple pharmacy grade vitamin C. Vitamin C is not a prescription item, but I would like him to ask the doctor that he be permitted, that he could take vitamin C up to 3,000 milligrams a day. That's the second thing I would like him to take to be assistive to his current alternating between diarrhea and constipation. I would like him to take the vitamin C up to 3,000 milligrams per day. The third thing I would like him to have access to is the ability to add lemon to hot water for his generalized bowel cleansing. The third thing or fourth thing would be the oil of oregano that he has some positive response to in the past. Oil of oregano is simply basically it's a food. He should ask for that fourth thing as well. I'll pause for a moment. You can put a line under those four things. Those four things are things that he shouldn't have any trouble. If it's a fair world, he shouldn't have any trouble accessing those things. Below the line, I would put the items that you could consider taking that are actually just relevant in this COVID world. And that would be the possibility of using Nigella sativa. Nigella sativa or black seed oil is a very legitimate over-the-counter nutraceutical product. It has some benefit for COVID ailments themselves, but it can be specifically helpful for bowel conditions, and it's up to the person to sometimes decide if it helps them or not. That's very much in brackets. That's very much below the line, but it would be something to consider if he could get at least the first four things happening. That's something that he could move forward to ultimately. So those are the only things I can speak to and advise. But the main thing is massaging the relationship with the people who are about to take care of him in the next 84 hours. I recommend that Nikki, who is accessing to these people the most, just keep on good terms with Nick. Just say, we just want to start with some food products purely and simply initially. And the chance for him to talk to other options with the doctor would also be appreciated. Say thank you, and let's see what happens in the next 4 days. I hope he sees that doctor they're promising him.
I'd like to ask a question about Jerry's eye.
Please.
For Jerry's eye ulcer, would it be the optometrist he would get help through, or is that a doctor he would get help with?
That's an MD. If you've got is the ulcer in the skin around the eye, or is the ulcer on the clear seeing part of the eye?
It has been said that it would affect his vision. So I'm assuming on his eye. I'm not 100% sure about that.
Yeah. Well, a non-healing ulcer of the surface of one's actual eye is basically somewhat of a medical emergency. He deserves to be seen by whatever level of competency doctor they're willing to let him see, but he deserves to see a doctor to decide how to treat this eye ulcer. That's the first thing, and it should be a doctor. It doesn't have to be an ophthalmologist. It could be a doctor to start with, and if that doctor doesn't feel competent to assist it, then he refers it up the chain, and at some point maybe has to be taken to an ophthalmologist in downtown Calgary for a simple prescription that specialist is going to know what the treatment is. So that's what I'd say first. Eye ulcers that are affecting his vision, that's a relative medical emergency, and he should see doctors as quickly as possible.
Excellent, excellent. And do we have any advice for the men in general to take care of themselves, especially Tony with his gluten issue? You gave some advice how to treat his gut issues and stuff, which is wonderful. Do we have any just general things that we can say to the men to help themselves because they don't get out in the sun and other things? And the varicose veins, how could they maybe start addressing those?
Oh boy. No.
Jerry was given some, what do you call those socks?
Compression
yes,
stockings or something.
Jerry was given some of those yesterday or the day before. Like I said, Jerry all of a sudden got an influx of a lot of stuff. So,
well, take and use what's given. Sometimes varicose vein stockings can be of the right type, and sometimes they're almost of the wrong type, and they're squeezing in the wrong place and not doing the right things. But go ahead and use what's being offered. See if it betters it, and I'd say if it betters it, use it. What was the other question in addition? Well, the real
just general what they can do because they don't get vitamin D as well. So what are other things that they maybe in their diet they can pay attention to and do if they can?
Would they have any right to ask for a phototherapy lamp, which is, phototherapy lamps are used for various conditions for mood enhancement and helping you get out of circadian rhythm disturbances, like if you've been on flights and you've been in different countries and you're just trying to get your rhythms back to normal. You use a bright light therapy, say, for 1 hour per day. And a bright light therapy 1 hour per day, if allowed to be in their cell, would at least mean a different kind of light was coming at their eyes for, 1 key hour per day. And especially if it was made at the same time per day, like around noon every day or around 8 or 9 a.m. every day, a consistent time that really gave their body the sense that, oh, this is morning or this is noontime. And they did it on a repeated, regularized basis. It would help both their brain and their physical health a great deal if they were allowed to have a standard, quote unquote, phototherapy lamp. They're available at every drugstore for $70. It's not a big deal. And it could be brought into them to be physically in their space for that 1 hour per day. It would be a version of going out into the yard, for 1 hour per day. We know they're not being allowed that. Could they at least be allowed in its place a phototherapy lamp 1 hour per day at a time of the institution's allowance? But it should basically be sometime between 8 a.m. and 12 noon.
Granny, you're shaking your head. We're all shaking our head.
Not a chance, unfortunately.
Not a chance. Yeah, they don't even get cards or photographs unless they're printed at Walmart.
Like I said, it's a struggle for them right now. They're stuck in purgatory. I really think the help here is going to the Justice Minister, the Health Minister, and Danielle Smith's office. I really think we have to get help from a higher power. Somebody sitting at a desk right now shuffling the phone. They're going to help us maybe get to one of these people. But I do believe we have to get somebody that has some form of authority. This system is so broken that the only way we need change. And it's a lot of change. And just letting them outside is not a human right anymore.
Well, I think doctors' advice about the food items, the first 4, that's a really good target to try and get because some of those should be attainable if it's a specific diet. Maybe we can focus on getting a prescribed diet to them, something along those lines that might get rid of some of this friction out of the medical side of things because none of that's medical. Those are all dietary related. So I like that advice of trying to get that put into place. You were about to say there, doctor?
Well, just fruits in general are important. Fruits are a natural source of vitamin C, but really anyone in these conditions on a regularized basis, they're basically probably getting scurvy amongst everything else. Vitamin C even would help their varicose veins to some extent. It would reduce inflammation that's present in the varicose veins, which are being created by the cement and absent of normal ambulation. But again, vitamin C in standard doses, anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000 milligrams a day, would assist anyone going through these terrible deprivations of light and inadequate nutrition. So again, see if the vitamin C for all 4 men in some fashion can be given.
Okay.
Tony
you had some more question, Nikki?
Tony did ask at one point. They said he can buy some vitamins through the on his canteen list.
Yes.
But he said they were absolute junk vitamins, and he's a man who's looked after his health, and he said he said they were junk.
Well, it's probably true, or he wouldn't be saying it. Well, everybody, my best to you all. It's been a thrill to be on this call with you, to see people trying to make life simply livable for some guilt-free people, because these people have not been charged guilty. They are charged, but they're not guilty by any court. And to be in a remand circumstance, I really think the thing that you were talking about there, Jason, that the system needs to be addressed quickly to change maximum remand time to, 60 days or something. And to be in these numbers of days at this point for these gentlemen, it's torture, it's inappropriate, it's just awful to hear about on my part. Thank you for having me. Sorry to have to say goodbye now, but I'm wishing everybody the best.
Thank you, Doctor.
Caring. And I'll talk to you behind the scenes. Maybe we can talk a bit about what human rights should have and what limits are like. 70 days you mentioned. We might talk about that later. Thank you very much for your time, Doctor.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye. Well, that was an excellent conversation. I think we got some items that we can certainly take a look at. Thank you so much, Doctor, for that. So, Nikki, you took some good notes there. You got those 4 items that he spoke about, and maybe we'll start there.
Yep. And I actually did want to read you some when we talk about human rights. I have a request for interview form for Tony here. And and I do have permission from Tony to share this. He says, good day. I am behind my 22-hour lockup since I have 0 institutional charges in 16 straight months. At the least, I should be able to have the same free time out of my cell in Unit 1A as I would have on a general population range. I should be able to visit the hobby store and chaplain of service as well. Please advise I am innocent until proven guilty. Thank you. Have a great day. And the comments from the facility says, request reviewed, as you have numerous separations set out to you by the courts. LCC is limited to housing you.
What does that mean? You have numerous separations. Can you read that line again?
Numerous separations set out by the courts. Lethbridge Correctional Center is limited to housing you.
So what does that mean? You have numerous separations by the court.
Yeah, that's what's written in the comments from the remand.
So there's a document from the court to the remand center about their care and limiting it. I believe that's what that line says. Yeah,
and it says you as well should be receiving your allotted free time for your current housing.
Okay, so maybe a freedom of information request or talk to lawyers. What specifically they're talking about there? The court has issued some sort of restrictions and limits?
Yeah, it just says limited housing set out for you. Yeah.
All right, so this is a straight up punishment, Granny. That's 100% what that line says. So the court believes whatever they believe, and they've now issued the remand center to take additional or limited care of them. I would like to see that document. I wonder if there's a way to get that document and expose that for what it is, because that's a punishment. That's penal. That should not be in place for someone who's not convicted yet. I would understand possibly after conviction and after we understand these people are guilty, possibly, but pre-conviction, that seems torturous. Maybe we can try and see if we can get our hands on that physical document that provided additional instruction to the remand center from the court. We should probably highlight that.
And Tony he has sent me, I have many documents here that he sent me back through the mail of request forms. And he has sent me more in the mail that I'm waiting to get. And he is actually sending back a form for his mom to sign so we can access his full medical file. Great.
Yeah, if we can kind of get the almost like power of attorney for the medical side of stuff into your hands, so you can actually be a lot more you can be a better advocate for them. That's a good first step as well. But yeah, I think we need to highlight this. We're highlighting on the show. We now have the doctor on the show giving some very sound advice on how to take care of stuff with simple food products. And of course, there's a gut issue, so you should be able to address it with food products. Melissa, you were paying close attention to what the doctor had to say there. What did you think about his advice on those 4 items?
I think it's great. Honestly, oil of oregano in itself is one of the best disinfectants and can use for many different inflammations to a variety of different things, increasing your actual, there's so many factors. But if they can't even get lemon water, though, it's really limiting. I would say I don't really recommend table salt because of the amount of toxic things that are coming through in the research now. It is Celtic salt, sea salt, even Himalayan salt would suffice. But the thing is the minerals in there is what would help. But yeah, there's just so many things that I have to agree with on the doctor. But the sad thing is they took his license away because he's on our side. So we know the bias is already there. They're not listening. The best thing is there's a bunch of us that are paying attention. So the more that we can politely make noise and be the squeaky wheel that doesn't let these guys fall through the crack, I find that's where we're going to get change. Because I mean, I'm grateful that we have the voice for these 4 men, but how many people too are slipped through the cracks and innocent until proven guilty? And we found, like, I know one of our friends had discussed a 18-year-old or 19-year-old who had spent 6 months in jail for not wearing masks and had continuously been arrested as a result. And so there's a bunch of things that we'll find later on, I'm sure. But if we can continue to help, I find those are very, like, these are reasonable requests. I do feel they're being targeted.
Right. And I think that document from the court, I think, is going to be the biggest inhibitor. So inside the remand center, their screen says, treat them like crap. That's basically what the screen says, and they're doing it. And that's looks like it not necessarily an order, but it actually could be in a court order. But it's instructions from the court on this one. So that's something I think we can quickly identify. And if that is the case, that document needs to be destroyed. That needs to be vitiated. It needs to go away. At least treat them the same as any other remand center person at minimum. So that means, not locked up all the time. Start there and start on the diet. So maybe 2 prongs here, Nikki. We'll try and figure out why legally the court sent a document over that says treat them like crap. And then we'll also work on getting their diet addressed. I don't know if there could be a special diet or a prescribed diet from the doctor, something along those lines where they have to give them the Greek yogurt. We'll work on those 2 things. So you think, Nikki?
Yep. And, I actually, when I talked to Tony, I find it really disturbing. He said, because when they go to court, for the day, for breakfast, lunch, and supper, they get ham sandwiches, and he can't eat the bread. It's sugar in it. It's making him sick. And he did say to me, he said, when he actually asked the remand center, if he was Muslim or Jewish, he could have a hot tray at night. And I did write in my letter, it shouldn't matter who you are. If you're Black, white, Indigenous, whoever you are, you should all be treated the same.
Absolutely. And I would fight for you on that one. And I do want the name of the person in Danielle Smith's office who made those comments about conspiracy theory. You're wrong and not credible. We will be educating him on what credibility means. And we will get the information to him. We do have some people inside the party who are way above his head that will address that one too. So please give me the letters that you're sending to MPs and MLAs. Give me that letter. And also give me the name of that person and the phone number. And we'll follow up immediately on that one.
I was just
Granny.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
Discouraged because I think we're fighting for a basic human right of care, a standard of care. That these men are sick, and I did say to Danielle Smith's office, this happens in 3rd world countries, and we should have never allowed it in 3rd world countries, and it is here now, and we can't even demand that we have basic human rights met for people. This is sick.
Absolutely. And the call to action, everybody watching this, there's 100 here on Facebook. We have over 130 on Rumble. All of you, that's 230 people. If you guys can clip the part of doctor talking, giving that good advice, getting upset about the conditions and the care, and parts of this about Danielle Smith's office not taking this seriously, clip that. We got to shame these people. We got to get this out there. So you can actually send it to her email at Danielle Smith's office, send it to the minister's office via email. You guys tell them what you just saw and witnessed. And now we have a doctor, 45 years, complete clean record. He's never harmed a soul. He's helped so many people, saying these is basic necessities. And it's just a food diet might be able to fix these guys up, or at least Tony in this situation. Minimum, this should be happening. So let's make a lot of noise. Granny, do you want to help with the call to action?
Yeah, so if you go to Alberta Political Prisoners page, you'll find a post, and you have to scroll. Things move around on that page. I've also got them on my personal pages, Margaret Granny and Granny Margaret. You can find the addresses and phone numbers and email for Danielle Smith's office, the Justice Minister, and the Health Minister. Please call and email and write. It's up to us to find a voice for the man. Unfortunately, this system is meant to break the people that are in the system. They don't want these men to go to court. And I'm not talking just our 4 men. I'm talking in general. The system is set up to have people plea out. They usually say, okay, your trial's not going to be for a year. You can stay here and wait, or you plea out and you're out in a few months. So they're working on their mental psyche right now. And we have to recognize that. We're up against the system. This has nothing to do with the men anymore. It's the system. And unfortunately, people in the system believe what they're doing is right, which is frightening, because innocent until proven guilty. And again, people don't do anything because it's not on their doorstep, or is it?
Right.
So you need to think about that. We need to fight for these men's rights, because it's all our rights. Heaven forbid none of us get into the same position as them, because you might not have a voice the same as these 4 men. And there's many out there within this system right now that I have heard through the grapevine that these 4 men are setting precedents, because these men see what's going on in there. They know the truth. And there are others, many others. So we need to fight for everyone. And right now it's our 4 men. So please email, write, and phone. Plug it up.
Excellent work. Excellent advice. And yes, check out the Facebook page. You'll find it. And let's do this, folks. Let's all do this. 100, 300, about 300 people total can do something about this. Let's do it. Thank you all very much. Is there anything else you want to add, Nikki?
No, it's if people can plug the phone lines, and it's up to we the people to make change here. And I do believe that we the people can make the change and hold these officials accountable, and to make sure that everybody gets a basic human right of healthcare.
And let's not forget, we could be in there. Okay, we've heard about people without wearing masks. They're in there for 6 months. Pretty soon, anything we speak about could be illegal. We have hate laws about stuff that we say, and pretty soon it could be as simple as disagreeing with the government, and you can find yourself in there. So listen, folks, it's not so much about I will never be in there, so I don't have to deal with this. You might. Someone you love might. Somebody that you care about might. So let's try and fix the system now for the future as well, because this is not right. Look, I am all for punishment for the guilty. They're not guilty yet. They're still innocent until proven guilty, folks, right? Innocent until proven guilty. So this should be a much better conditions. In fact, prison should be a downgrade of the remand center. That's the way it should be, because the people in the remand center are yet to be proven guilty. It shouldn't be torturous, and it shouldn't be worse than. I'm just going to start there. Granny, you have any last comments? And then I'll go to you, Melissa.
Again, I say it every day. Get out and have a cup of coffee with a friend or a stranger and find a problem to solve. And right now we've got a big problem to solve. So you might want to call a few people to that coffee date and just enlighten each other on what you can do. And again, I always say, one piece to the puzzle missing. What do you stare at? You stare at the one piece. Do not underestimate your power of one little finger hitting the share button. And so just get out and do something, because doing nothing is not an option anymore.
Correct. And then Melissa, you have some closing comments?
Honestly, it's just a hard second ditto on what Margaret said, but be the change that you wish to see in the world. It's not going to happen if we keep looking for the people above us. We have to be the change. And so just keep doing what you guys are doing, showing up, being here, sharing the message, calling, being a part of like the team in the background, like Nikki there, the voice here. Jason, thank you guys for having me. All of us can make a difference, just like Granny here. She stood up, and I love how everybody kind of came together in that. And so we can do that again.
Absolutely. The love is flowing. So mind, body, and soul. Take care of all 3, right?
Yes, of course.
Okay. Well, thank you all very much. We'll wrap up here now. Well, there, folks, hopefully that's going to help. Hopefully you guys have a call to action. Hopefully you're more equipped with some information. You heard from a doctor. So when they're talking to you and saying you don't know what you're talking about, you can say, no. The doctor said unsweetened Greek yogurt, lemon juice, oil of, there was something, I'm sorry about that, oil of basil, or, oh, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Melissa back on. Oil of basil, or, sorry, I'm going to bring Oregano. You said oregano, right?
Oil of oregano.
Yeah, oil of oregano. What was the fourth one?
The fourth one is there's the lemon, the pharmacy grade vitamin C, Greek yogurt.
Vitamin C. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll try that again. Thank you. This is why we have live fact checkers, because I want to get you the right information. So 4 simple items in his diet can really change his life and really improve his life. So let's go ahead and try and ask and politely push to have these kind of items available to him. There should be a ability to have special diets. Like we heard, if you're a religious in certain ways, you can get your special diet. Maybe this needs to be a religious type of requirement to have life, liberty, and the ability to continue to live comfortably, even when facing allegations and charges of a serious nature. Nobody should be treated this way. Nobody. Folks, thank you very much for being here. You can go and take that call to action. And to all those that get together for coffee, wherever you are, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Now let's get to work. I love you all. We got a lot of work to do. God bless.